Welcome to the Red Half of Sheffield preview podcast. If you guys can't tell, I'm off the back of us just getting beat all to hell 8-0 by Newcastle United. Anyway, we move on. I am joined by Sam from the Boleyn Boys podcast. Sam, how are you doing on this Sunday time of recording? It's probably a lot better than I'm doing at the current moment.
I mean, yeah, not too much better after our result earlier, but yeah, probably a little bit better than you. I'll be honest. I'm just
Yeah.
working as well, so don't mind steering wheel in my face.
This is the first on the go preview pod we have done. Um, so yeah, I mean, let's get into it. Sum up that game against Liverpool today. What went wrong?
Now, listen, I normally go home and away and all that, but as you can tell, I'm just a bit busy. I've got to work at the minute, but I did listen to it on the radio. And it sounded like a classic West Ham game at one of the top six clubs. We've missed a few chances, and then as soon as you do that, you're waiting for them to go ahead and win the game, and that's exactly what they've done. I think I see Bowen was he was fouled in the box, and we didn't get a penalty, which is no surprise at Anfield. But it was already 1-0 to them at that point. I think Antonio missed a really good chance, and Sarchek had a really good chance, but it was saved by Allison. But yeah, the 3-1 scoreline weren't no surprise. It was what we've come to expect, unfortunately, under David Moyes. Well, not under David Moyes. I mean, we've never had a great record, but I mean, he's yet to beat any of the top six away from home.
Oh boy, that's a
Um,
tough run.
so yeah, I think we're now into 70 plus games when he's not managed to get a win. So it's pretty much expected today.
Uh, don't like to hear that. So I mean, in my opinion, West Ham over the last few seasons, as much as I don't pay enough attention to this league, it's like they're up and down, seesaw, up and down, up and down. Is this the season where West Ham are going to finish mid table, top half? Is this one of those seasons where David Moyes is going to, now that you're in Europe, he's going to, or off the back of winning a European Cup last year, is this one of the seasons where it's gonna the league season's gonna be on a high, or is this one of the ones where it's gonna be a letdown like last year and it's gonna be a relegation battle?
Well, you might see a few of my tweets and West Ham Twitter now. We follow each other, and the response is very mixed around West Ham because we've got so under Moyes, like we've always been, as much as we always, and we have been probably, we are a Premier League club. I'll 100% say that, but whether we're actually a top half club, if you look at the bigger picture, like there's a lot left to be desired because we've been up and down, like you were saying there, like throughout our Premier League stay, we have been pretty much up and down, and I don't think I don't think it'd be right to call West Ham a top half club. But since David Moyes, I think you can argue that he's turned us in or turning us into a top half club because obviously last season we've ended up in a relegation battle, finishing I think 13th or 14th. But this season, with the start we've had with the recruitment we made in the summer, I am looking at this season, and it's our third season in Europe, so the lads should be used to that now. Thursday, Sunday, and I do think we will finish like higher in the table, and I think we will be challenging the European places again. We've had a brilliant start. We've made great signings, and I look at the teams who else we're competing with in that bracket, and I don't see no reason why on our day we can compete with them. Now I don't expect to compete with Liverpool, Man City, um, but it's extremely disappointing after the run we had, like 3 wins out of the 4, and then you go and play them back to back and you end up losing the pair of them. You'd think you might be able to nick a point somewhere, but
Yeah, I was gonna say you guys had a pretty good start to the season, honestly.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was, like I mentioned, off the back of, that relegation fight with in, inevitably surviving last year. I mean, you didn't have too bad of a run of form, and you're like, okay, this is the West Ham that West Ham is one of the teams that I cannot bet on. I cannot put money on because, and I should have nailed it on this year. It's like, okay, West Ham are gonna finish well. Let's put some money on the Hammers to finish maybe mid-table, maybe top half. And then last year I should have been like, well, this is going to be the downside. It's almost like odd and even years depends on where you guys are going to finish in the table. But your thoughts on your positive start, and did it take you by surprise that you guys started out the gate relatively well?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, well, it was a tricky one because our transfer business was done so late. At the time of writing, when I was predicting how we would start, I think I've said, and I don't, like, I'd say it again, like, I didn't think, like, it wouldn't have surprised me if we'd ended up with 0 points. Like, Bournemouth have just been taken over. I know that they've struggled to the start, but I think they've made some good signings. I think they'll come good. I think Brighton we'd never beaten in the Premier League before. We finally got over that hoodoo. Chelsea, I don't think no one expected to see them. I know they weren't going to gel straight away, but Jesus, they are in an absolute state. But no one was predicting that, and then obviously Luton. I know it was Luton, but it was their first game back in the Premier League. It was a night game. It was a Friday night. It was on the TV. And it wouldn't have surprised me if we'd dropped points in there as well. So to actually come away with 10 out of 12, I was... and this is the point I was just making earlier, sorry. So when I made that prediction, we'd only signed 1 or 2 players. All of a sudden, by the time our second game come around, we'd had pretty much our summer recruitment had been done. And then all of a sudden, you're looking at those games. You're looking at Luton. You're looking at Brighton. And even you're looking at Chelsea now with a whole new squad, thinking like now we can actually go and do something. But I was pleasantly surprised with our start to the season. I would admit that, yeah.
Okay, so on to next weekend's game. Who are a couple of the West Ham players that we need to look out for?
It's a shame I haven't watched the game today because I might have been able to give you a bit more information. But I mean, the boys that we've got, like Bowen, he's literally on fire at the minute. He's had a really good start to the season. After a poor year, he's had a really good start to the season. Antonio, he's always an handful. He ain't a striker. So if he goes through one-on-one, I wouldn't worry about him too much. But he's an handful when he can bring others into play. Mohamed Kudus, I imagine. Moyes is very regimented, and he's don't lose first. So I think that's why Kudus has yet to find a starting place in the Premier League yet, because like we've had Man City and Liverpool, so he will set up with a low block and he'll look to just try and nick a point. So I think Kudus will start next week. From what we've seen of him so far, and obviously his time at Ajax, he looks like he could be a player. I think Paqueta. I argued last season that we only had one world-class player, and that was Declan Rice. But I think it's probably safe to say that Lucas Paqueta is very much quickly turning into another world-class player. He was brilliant again today, so I heard. And yeah, probably our boys up front, like if they can all click and get into gear, I think that's where, like, I am fully expecting a win and a decent win, but I am also aware that at the back, and especially Areola, for us, I'm not too sure. I don't know how you boys play. Are you a footballing team now? Are you a bit more Route One? What are Sheffield United going to bring to the table?
Well, based off the back of today's result, we're leaking goal. I mean, to be fair, we haven't leaked too many goals. We lost 3 out of the last 4 games. I mean, we played 27 million minutes of added time against Spurs and we gave Spurs, the refs gave Spurs every chance they can to win the game. Lost to Man City in the last minute of the game. Lost to Forest in the last minute of the game. We'll play
I see the City game actually, and you were very well. Sorry to interrupt you, but I see the Man City game, and I thought you was incredibly unlucky to go and lose that game. I thought you played really well.
Exactly. We're gonna set up a 3-5-2, or if they go off the back of tonight, they'll probably sack Heckingbottom, bring Chris Wilder in, and nothing will change, and we'll still play a 3-5-2. But I thought today positively against Newcastle. The first 20 minutes before the goal goes in, the ref gifted goal goes in. I think we were the better side, and then and it all fell apart, obviously by the scoreline. And I think we're going to go at it because we don't have anything to lose. But also now we take an 8-0 defeat against Newcastle, and we're on a -12 goal difference, propping up the table. And it's like, how do you play now? Do we just sit in a low block and defend for 90 minutes and try and get maybe only incur a 1-0, 2-0 defeat, or do we come out and get hammered again and lose 4-5-0?
I would be looking. We've changed goalkeeper this season, and we've got Areola in goal. And he was making mistakes every single game. I'm not too sure what he's been like. I don't know how he performed today, but he sounded like he was a little bit better than he has been, and he certainly weren't making mistakes. But if I was Sheffield United, I mean, I certainly wouldn't. Our home record is fantastic. We are really making the play. I don't like the stadium at all. I absolutely hate it. But the squad and the team and David Moyes, they're starting to make it a real fortress and not a place where people are going to come. But I think if Sheffield United are to look to get something out of it, I think they've probably got to target Areola, and that will probably mean set pieces. And I imagine it will be a game where Sheffield United will be looking to get as many set pieces as they can, and then really put the pressure on Areola in goal, because he's not comfortable at commanding his area at all. I think if you try and play with possession and try and out football us, you'll probably keep a lot of the ball. But we're a fantastic counter-attacking team. And I think Sheffield United's best way will probably, because we're not great at having the ball. Like I just said, we're a great counter-attacking team. But if Sheffield United sat back and said to West Ham, come and beat us, we would struggle. We're not good with the ball. We're not that team yet. This is a team I want us to progress to become, because I think if you want to dine at the top table, you need to know how to play with the ball. But I think a lot of what we do good, unfortunately, is probably more without the ball. So I think if Sheffield United want to give themselves the best chance, just like you said, like go into a low block, make West Ham come onto them, and then when you get set pieces, you just need to be all over Areola. And if you manage to do that, I think that'll be giving you your best chance. But I do expect West Ham to go on and win, if I'm being honest, especially after today as well.
You lead right into my next question. Give me a little synopsis of how you think this game is going to go, and score prediction. Another 8-0 defeat and -16 over 2 legs. Bring it on. Come on.
I think a lot could change between now and Saturday, because like you said about if Wilder comes in, a new manager bounce, you always get a little bit of something.
No way.
I expect us to win either way. I do expect us to win either way, and I expect us to probably win comfortably, if I'm being completely honest. But if Sheffield United get it right, I know what we're like, and it wouldn't surprise me if they could frustrate us. But I think under Moyes, as much as his top 6 record isn't great, like the rest of us, like the other 14, he's pretty much spot on with that, and he doesn't tend to get much wrong. So I'll be very surprised if we even dropped any points, to be honest. And I think West Ham are probably going to win 2 or 3-0. But this is the Premier League at the end of the day, and anything can happen.
I echo your sentiments on the same thing. I just don't think. I think it's more of you'll probably see a West Ham you haven't seen in a while, and then just take us to the woodshed and just absolutely beat us like a drum. I could see a 2-3-0 result as well. I mean, if you watch this game back, I mean, we weren't within 5 miles of this game against Newcastle, but I just think this is where United knew. You know, we all knew we were gonna have this start, and we're not gonna pick up any points. I didn't have us win until probably middle of October, maybe November, before we get our first win. So I'll go with a 3-0 loss and just pile it on the pressure and everything on the coaching staff and the players to make it even worse. And the countdown begins till we are back in the championship. Thank God. So one last question. We always do a hard-hitting question before we sign off. Match day, your pre-match beverage match day before you go watch the Hammers hammer Sheffield United.
Listen, I used to be when I was a drinker. I'm not as much of a drinker anymore, I'll be honest. But when I was a drinker, I'd always drink a Stella. It had to be a Stella Artois.
Okay.
If I was in the boozer, but it was a Stella Artois. But if I weren't in the boozer, if it was an away day and I was in the motor or on the train, I'd probably get a couple of bottles of Budweiser. So it was anywhere between the two. But a bottle of Budweiser or a pint of Stella. But considering Saturdays at home, I'll probably just stick to the water and be quite boring. I'll be honest with you.
I hear you. There's no hate in that. Well, that'll wrap this one up. Sam, let the people know where they can find the Boleyn Boys podcast on all the social medias and podcast. Give all the information.
Yeah, unfortunately, the podcast is no more. But if you just want to follow us and interact, get into conversation and the rest of it, then just on Twitter at the _Boleyn Boys. I'm always on there chatting nonsense about anything football, really. So, enjoyed the show. You're doing good stuff. Obviously, I hope you boys can start doing a little bit better for your own sake. Maybe not next week. But yeah, I'm sure at some point you will end up picking up points, and you'll make Bramall Lane. Bramall Lane's always a tough place to go, so I'm sure as soon as you can get a bit of confidence in that, I think you boys will give yourself a fighting chance. But I know you've had a bit of a struggle with the owners at the minute as well, ain't you? So that probably hasn't helped.
Yeah. That's.
But I think you'll.
That's the biggest struggle. Is what's going to happen. You know, it's going to be a relegation season. We all know it. We all knew it coming in. But it's just it's one of those things where you wish it wasn't this bad. You know it's going to be a relegation season, but you just hate. You know, you can talk it up, but when it actually happens, it rips your heart out of being a football fan. It rips your heart out to see your team that's done everything to get to this level, and we're miles off of it. And then we go and get hammered 8-0, and it's just like, and now we're going to be the doormat for the rest of the league, and everybody's the 8-0 defeat, blah 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 blah, and all this. It is what it is. This is the league, and it is what it is. But if you guys follow, I don't know why you're watching this and you're not following the YouTube channel, Red Half of Sheffield, follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Red Sheffield, Facebook, Red Half Sheffield. Until Saturday, when we probably get hammered again, up the blades.